The only thing necessary for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing. It's important that people wake up to what is going on. It's time that we read the Constitution. It is error that needs the support of government. Truth can stand alone. That was given to us by Thomas Jefferson. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Daniel Hapney, and this is The Real Story. For tonight's show, what we have for you is pretty much two things. One that's in the news every day that you hear about, and the other one that you may not hear that much about. And what we're going to discuss is, or at least what I'm going to relate to you, and hopefully you discuss with your family members and loved ones and neighbors and just acquaintances that you meet, is the First Amendment. That's right. The United States Constitution, right, has these amendments. We have what? We have the great 10 amendments, right? We know them as the Bill of Rights. Well, that first one was a very important one. So tonight, anyway, we're going to discuss the First Amendment, and also we're going to go over some of that economy stuff, because remember how they, I guess it was George Orwell who learned to change words and how people accept things because it sounds different. Like a week ago it was the bailout, and we're going to discuss that, and now it turned into the rescue plan. And evidently they passed the rescue plan legislation and stuff, which will be immediately signed, but we'll go into that later in the episode. So here we have the Bill of Rights. What a lucky thing. What a blessed thing. The First Amendment. And for you viewers out there, I'm going to read it to you so you can understand exactly, word for word, because it's probably been a long time since you read this. But here's how it goes. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. They put a comma in there. So you could stop right there and think, Congress will make no law respecting the establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That means for you viewers, you Sharonites and you World Wide Web viewers, that here in the United States, because we have these rights, okay, when I say have these rights, granted to us by our Creator, not by our government, but we put things down in writing. Why? So that we could limit and restrict our government, not limit and restrict our people. Have you noticed the difference lately? All the laws that they're passing now limit and restrict the people. Yet our founding fathers, they wrote stuff that limited and restricted the government. So it goes on, and it says, or abridging the freedom of speech. Very interesting, huh? Freedom of speech. That's why I get to be here in front of you today, because I'm exercising my freedom of speech. You should go try to exercise some of yours. Try it at an airport and tell me how free you feel. And, or of the press. Hey, what's the only business that's protected by the Constitution? That's the press. The only business. No other business throughout, all of our founding father documents. No other businesses are protected, but the press is protected. And that's extremely important. They understood this. We'll go into the Federalist Papers and all that in a minute, but they understood that. So anyway, we got that. So what do we got? We've got, all right, government shouldn't be involved in religion or the exercise thereof. The people have freedom of speech and the freedom of the press. That means the government can't mess with your free speech, they can't mess with the press, and they can't tell you what to believe or how to worship. Pretty smart, these founding fathers. Or the right of the people to assemble. Think about that. These guys knew way back when that sometimes the people would want to assemble. And maybe they would have grievances. We'll go on to the next part of it. But this is all in what? In the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights. So that people to assemble, the right of the people to peaceably assemble. What happens now when people assemble? And let's say they, we call them what? Protest, and they may want to protest. Now we have free speech zones, don't we? That's where we put those protesters. See, they have a new name. This is what Orwell taught people, how to change words and change the meaning. These aren't people peacefully assembling that they have a constitutional right to do. No, these are, quote, protesters, and they go into what? A free speech zone. Maybe my viewers and listeners out there could tell me, am I wrong? But wasn't he the first guy to make free speech zones? Now our free speech zones are not only fenced, but they have barbed wire. Concertina wire, they call it. Now, last but not least, and this is the last part, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Hopefully you got to see the redress of grievances show I did. But once again, let's go over these things. We have freedom of religion, where it says not just freedom of it, but the government can't be involved in any way, shape, or form. We have freedom of speech. And do you think when they were protecting freedom of speech, it was unpopular speech or popular speech? Do you need a First Amendment if all you do is say popular things? It's the unpopular. It's the dissenters. This is who they were trying to protect. And why? Because many times it's the dissenters who bring forth the truth. That's why I'm here today. And for you viewers out there who think that I shouldn't be able to say anything, or that you'd like to put the censored thing over me and not hear whatever I say or not see what I bring for you, just remember, this is the United States of America. We're a constitutional republic, and you're blessed because you're here. And yes, we have the freedom of speech. So once again, it wasn't popular speech that they were concerned with, I'm sure. Are you sure? You should check out. I recommend you read the Federalist Papers. And also, I highly recommend you read the Anti-Federalist Papers. That's the side I'm leaning on. I'm a little more Jeffersonian, you know. That Hamilton thing, you know, central government, federal control, no, no. Me, hey, individuals have freedoms and rights. Yes, 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 yes. Big government? No, no, no. Small government, free people? Yes, yes, yes. So anyway, I'm bringing this to you because, once again, I'm going to read the whole thing through now and think about these little parts. Once again, the rights to assemble, and now we got free speech zones and stuff. Now they're trying to pass hate crime laws and hate speech laws. And why that's important is because if there's already law that says I can't hurt somebody, well, then that's going to be what? Next thing they're going to make, well, that's a hate crime, so it's a greater penalty or something. But when they get into speech and they say, that's hate speech, I heard what you said, that's very hateful. I was hurt by what you said. Okay? Be very careful. When people come to you, you Sharon residents, and they say, we want to pass a hate speech law. That's happened before in history. So, anyway, here we go. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech, for you listeners out there, okay, or of the press, I can bring you news, okay, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble. Remember that when you get into your little concentration camp cage, okay, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. So here we have the first of the 10 amendments. These were so important, once again, to add in that when they brought the Constitution forth and stuff, these weren't put in there because they were considered already granted because your creator, okay, who wherever you're from or whoever you want to believe you're from, that those were rights you had anyway. But it's funny, because of some discussion in newspapers of all things, okay, from Virginia all the way to Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, these were the big centers then, okay, the papers were publishing articles which were termed the Federalist Papers. Well, they also published the Anti-Federalist Papers. And this is where they could have discussions, and many times heated discussions and disagreements, and say things that were unpopular. What's important about this, though, is that freedom of speech allows, it's like freedom of thought. I should be able to relay my thoughts to you. You should be able to relay your thoughts to me. I shouldn't try to put a clamp on you or anybody else. And the reason I thought that was interesting is because recently we've had in the news, we've had the Obama Truth Squads. Now, I'm not for McCain and I'm not for Obama because I know they're both funded by Goldman Sachs. That's right, that's where Mr. Paulson's from, right? And where's the money going? Into the pockets of Goldman Sachs. He still owns equity stakes in it, so it's going into his own pocket. Welcome to your Treasury Secretary. But we'll get into that in a sec with the bill. But where I was going with the freedom of speech is, recently in Missouri, let's pick a state, Missouri. You've had elected officials and also government officials, this being police and also district attorneys, who said, we're going to go out, and if we find anybody saying a lie or something not true about Obama, we're going to prosecute them. Because very few of you Sharonites remember when they changed laws and they said, well, you can't say anything about a candidate 6 weeks prior to an election, from 6 weeks prior till the election. So they're using the laws that were created, who, once again, the original founders made laws that limited the power of the government. Now we have the government making laws limiting the people, in this case, their free speech. That's extremely important. This is what fascist regimes do. This is what communist regimes do. This is what totalitarian regimes do. They try to limit free speech. And even though I may hate something that a person in the Ku Klux Klan says or whatever it does, or some, you know, what they consider neo-Nazi, or I would say Bush-type person, but more importantly is, I'm going to defend their right to speak. And you should too. There's a reason the founders put this in, because they knew that even unpopular speech is important. And that's the speech that needs to be protected. So, religion and stuff, here we have many religions in Sharon, and I think, once again, I don't care what your religion is, and I hope you enjoy worshiping or doing whatever you do during your religion, and, you know, more power to you. We shouldn't once again, as a federal government, we should have nothing to do with religion. Yet, isn't it interesting how some, I want to say preachers in like Kansas or somewhere up in the Midwest, they had to go and give their sermons to the Internal Revenue Service. And you ask yourself, what's the IRS doing? Well, see, churches and synagogues, probably alike, have to, what, fall into that nonprofit category of being, so now you need a government to tell you whether or not you have a valid religion, whether this is a valid church and you can maintain your tax-free status.